Happy Tricare Tuesday, everybody. Today's topic caught me a little off guard because I had something else entirely planned for you, but actually a friend called me this morning and was in desperate need of some help and advice, and it had to do with Tricare, and so I ended up doing so much research for her this morning that I decided I just needed to go with this topic for you guys as well, because it may be something that's in your lives too. This topic is maternity and newborn coverage under Tricare Prime Remote versus Select. Tricare Prime itself is obviously a little bit more straightforward. If you've been on a base before, you know that if you have Tricare Prime and you're sticking with an on-base provider, then it's going to be pretty straightforward. Everything's going to be covered fairly easily and within reason. But with Remote and Select, things get a little bit trickier. My friend's situation, just to tell you quickly so that then you can understand kind of how the rest of this fits into that, is that her husband is deployed. She is going to be moving from Tricare East to her mother's house, who is in the Tricare West region. And she's going to be over 7 hours away from a base. So she is going to have to go with either Tricare Prime Remote, if they will let her, which she's kind of struggling with that right now, or Tricare Select. So I wanted to look into this for her to give her an actual cost breakdown of what will be involved if she does end up deciding to go with Select. So with Tricare Prime Remote, which is what a lot of us are on here, there is going to be no cost for your maternal care and delivery if you're going to an approved provider and if everything that you're doing is medically necessary. Now, I add that in because there are things like if you choose to have a doula, if you are going to choose to take medication that is not necessarily what your doctor has decided on. Different things of that nature that are not medically necessary as deemed by your medical provider are probably not going to be covered. But everything else, including delivery, is going to be covered. You're going to be good. Now, should you choose to go with Tricare Select, and we'll get into that idea of when you get to choose here in a second, but should you go with Select, the costs can differ. Either way, however, if you are active duty currently, if you're an active duty member or active duty dependent, you still will be pretty well taken care of. So I'm going to include a link to a tool that you can use to find out cost share or copay breakdowns, especially if you're going with Select. But for many of us, we would fall under what they term as Group A. Group A members are active duty, typically, who have been enlisted before January 1st of 2018. If you are Group A, for example, and you are wanting Tricare Select and you choose to deliver in a hospital, network or non-network, your cost share or copay will be $20.75 per day. So I may be horrible at math, but if you stay for 4 days, let's say in a hospital, network or non-network, you're going to end up paying a little bit over $80 in total to have your child. If you are part of Group B, which means that you enlisted on or after January 1st, 2018 as an active duty member, for in-network hospitals, you would end up paying $67 for admission to that hospital, and then that is that flat rate. If you go to a non-network hospital, here's where that can get really expensive. If you go to a non-network and you are Group B, you're going to be paying 20% of the total bill. That's why these things are so important to figure out ahead of time. So don't be afraid of Select if you are going through maternity or newborn care, but do understand what your costs would be ahead of time. Now, just to quickly explain something too that is different from my friend's situation versus what most of our situations would be here. If you have just arrived to the Asheville area and therefore you have moved, your address has changed, that is considered a qualifying life event. And I'm actually going to include a link down below that explains all about qualifying life events. When you have a qualifying life event, that means that you are able to change TRICARE plans. So let's say you knew that you were either going to be potentially having a baby soon, or you were already pregnant and you moved to the Asheville area, and you decided when you got to Asheville you wanted to actually go with Tricare Select, just to have a few more options with who you went to for your doctor. Since you have just moved here, and I believe it's within 90 days, but when you've moved here, then you can, because that's a qualifying life event, you can go ahead and choose to switch your plan from, if you were on Tricare Prime, let's say before, to Tricare Select. If, however, let's say you're already in the Asheville area, you've already gotten onto Tricare Prime Remote, and then you get pregnant and you decide that you would really like to be on Tricare Select, unless it is during the Open Enrollment season, which starts in the fall and lasts for 3 months, unless you're in that season, that open plan season, you cannot change your plan because pregnancy does not count as a qualifying life event. The birth of a child does. Pregnancy does not. I'm including a link to that too to help explain. The difference with my friend's situation is if you are relocating, so my friend is relocating for more than 90 days to a different area, in this case her mom's house, that counts, that move for her counts as a qualifying life event, even though she has not yet given birth to a child. Okay, so that's the difference there, and that's why I bring that one up. There's so much to know about maternal and newborn care with TRICARE. Therefore, I'm also including the link to an absolutely incredible, extremely useful webinar that was done a couple of years ago. So some of the things have changed, but the basics have not. And they had a TRICARE representative, several different TRICARE representatives present and talk through anything that you can think of with maternal and newborn care. This is an hour-long webinar, but it's extremely useful, as my golden retriever thinks too. He puts his input in there. Anyway, guys, I hope that this was useful. I know that this is a lot, and I know there's a lot here, and if you need any help navigating these waters, please reach out. It is something that is very, very challenging, and it can be super overwhelming, especially when it comes to choosing between Prime, in our case, Prime Remote versus Select, and just kind of, again, understanding, like, if I go with Select, am I going to be paying thousands and thousands of dollars? What's my particular situation going to entail, and what all is going to be covered? Obviously, I always would recommend that you call TRICARE directly and talk to representatives, but also know that you can advocate for yourself and should always advocate for yourself. So hopefully you're able to do some research ahead of time and then make an informed decision when you do talk to a representative and go forward with some of this. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful, and I will see you tomorrow for Western North Carolina Wednesday. Bye, guys.